So you want to learn how to frontside 5-0, huh? They're a pretty fun trick. First off, I don't know if they're really called frontside 5-0s. Some of the other names are frontside grind, stand-up grind. So that's what we're talking about. The old stand-up grind. Everyone knows what I mean. So first off, let's not get confused. It's called a stand-up grind because you are standing up on the coping. We're not talking about a slash grind like this. So in spite of the differentiation between the stand-up grind and the slash grind, slash grinds are a very useful thing to know how to do at first. So you want to be pretty comfortable doing those. And those are pretty simple. I mean, you just ride up, you kind of do a manual, you let your wheel bump over, you hold your manual nice and steady and turn. Like it's a frontside kick turn, just bumping your wheel over the coping and getting a little grind. So you can keep working on those and keep working on those, and slowly but surely you're going to start, instead of just bumping your wheel over, you're going to start getting your truck a little more closer to this wheel. But you can do those until the cows come home, and eventually you got to pony up and you got to stand up. That's what separates the people who do stand-up grinds from those that do slash grinds. So why is this so frightening? Why is it so hard to do? Because in fact, once you learn them, they're quite a simple trick. My opinion on this is people are frightened of them because of the fear of hanging up, which is a legitimate fear. So getting up and standing up on a stand-up grind is not the hard part. The hard part is knowing how to come back in without hanging up like that. So the first thing I would recommend is find a small transition. Like if a 5-foot transition is all you have, that's going to be a pretty intimidating thing to do it on. I learned these on like 2 and 3 foot transitions where the consequences are just not that severe. The other thing is I often try and break tricks into stages incrementally, so maybe just doing like 5-0 stalls. In this case, that's not going to be helpful. I actually think those are harder because you don't have your momentum helping you. You actually have to stand there, balance, and then calculatingly come back in. So, all this talk, but let's get into what makes these work. How do you get back in from these? Okay, so we're gonna break this into 2 stages. The first is your center of gravity. On a slash grind, your center of gravity in relation to the coping stays in the bowl, which is why it's safe. You're still in the bowl. On a stand-up grind, it requires you to shift your weight, so it's like a leaning forward of your whole body, like shifting your shoulders and body weight. You have to visualize your weight on this side of the coping. So that is the first step. And having achieved that first step, now, how do we gracefully come back in and get our center of gravity back in here without splatting? So that part is where your weight is on your foot as you enter back in. So when you're doing a slash grind, you're just kind of floating over the coping and you put your weight back on when you know your wheel is cleared. But when you're getting up for a stand-up grind, you're like standing up on your board on this side of the coping. And the trick to coming back in is to putting your weight on your heel and focusing your weight on this rear heel side wheel. So what you want to do is essentially go like this. Like, this is overcompensating, but visualize that what you are doing is putting all your weight on that heel side wheel so that you can't go like this. If your weight is on your toes when you're coming back in, you're gonna go like this. So it's transferring your weight, toes to keep it over here, coming back in, weight goes on the heel to transfer it all like this, overcompensate, bring the board back in. So of course it looks much smoother than that. But that's the idea, is I focus my energy and my weight on this wheel, and that's what helps bring it over this. And coming back in is kind of just like bumping over a bump in the sidewalk, right? You're just like, bump. It's a little bump, transfer the weight on the heel. You're all good. So after doing a few more of those, in terms of where I'm looking, I actually look at the coping the whole time. Like, I don't turn my head and look down the ramp. I'm just up on here watching the coping the whole time and just like really paying attention to getting that wheel back over. Alright, so I know it's easier said than done, but here's the things I want you guys to focus on. Find a small transition. Find some transition when you're learning where the coping maybe doesn't stick out too much. Like, pool coping is really hard because it sticks out so abruptly that it's really hard to get your wheel over when you're first learning. In fact, I actually don't like doing 5-0s on pool coping because it's so abrupt. It knocks my footing off, and then by the time I'm ready to stand up, I'm sort of feeling all wobbly. And the next, take it easy and trust your gut, guys. I mean, these videos are more for encouragement than anything, but I don't want to be encouraging you to hurt yourselves. So, trust your gut, find a safe ramp, and get at that stand-up grind. Thanks for watching. See you guys in the next one.